Hey, how you doing, guys? Today we're going to talk about my favorite sports quads and why. I want to apologize for not being in the garage today and not showing off some four-wheelers and whatnot, but you guys know the bikes, so again, it's not very important, to see the bikes and all that, because we already know what they are. So, my favorite sport ATVs and why. So, my top 3 favorite sport quads of all time are going to be the Honda 1988 and 1989 Honda 250R, the Trx250r. Also, second is going to be the 2005 Honda Trx450r, and the other one is going to be the aluminum frame Yamaha Yfz450r. Excuse me. So I'm going to talk about some of the reasons why I like these bikes, and I'm going to talk about some of the things I don't like about these bikes. Obviously, I got a little bit of a bias towards the Honda 250R. I own one. There's a couple reasons why I like that machine so much. One of them being it's a 2-stroke, and I absolutely love my 2-stroke racing quads. There's some other racing quads that are also 2-stroke, but I don't like them near as much as I like the Honda. The Honda is such a great machine because there's so many different parts that you can buy, and it can be tuned for any type of racing or riding, from recreational to any type of serious racing. You'll probably see at least one 250R there. Even though it's super old, it was very ahead of its time. It had really good geometry, and basically all the sport quads after that four-wheeler was designed mimicked the geometries of the frame design of the Honda. In fact, some of the other four-wheelers, A-arms and whatnot, will bolt on to the Trx250R. The 400EX also had a very similar geometry. I like the 400EX. It's a great quad. I'm going to talk about those quads later in a sport quad shootout, which sport quad's the right one for you. But some of the things that makes that I love about the Honda 250R so much is the looks. I love the looks. The ability to get this thing customized for whatever you want to do is great. All the aftermarket cylinder kits, you can get aftermarket cases, gears. You can basically build an entire 250R not using any of the original 250R parts. Basically an all aftermarket bike. I forget the year. I think it was around 2000s. There was a company called Rebel Star. Rebel Star was manufacturing aftermarket 250R parts, and they offered basically a full-blown racing 250R that had a different engine on it. I believe it had a Rotax motor on it. It was expensive. I've never seen one in person, but man, I really would like to ride one day. So that quad, some of the things that's bad about it, or some of the things that I don't like about it, after you ride some of these more modern sport quads, specifically the Honda 450R and the Yfz, the seat and the way that you sit on it isn't as comfortable as the other two bikes. You just can't really dig your knee as low as you can on the other two, and the seat's a little bit wider. But for you bigger guys, you're gonna absolutely love the ergos of the 250R. Another complaint I have about the 250R is really can't find too many complaints. prices of OEM parts are getting harder to find and more expensive, I'd say that's a downside. I mean, they're still available, but I'm talking about like NOS overstock parts. They're going for about 3 times more than what they should be. Other than that, it doesn't have, geez, I can't really think of anything bad. You know, the frames are a little weak in stock configuration. You know, if you're going to be looking for a used one, make sure that the frame's not cracked. Look for excess welds. That's one of the downsides of that bike is, you know, they've been thrashed on. So trying to find one that's mint condition is pretty difficult, and they hold their value. Now, as for the Honda 450R, the reason I said the 05 model is because the 05 model didn't have electric start, and it had like some revised gears and whatnot inside the transmission. That's the most desirable model for a racing point of view. The other models are nice. I got a buddy that can work wonders with those Honda 450R front shocks. His name's Rocket Ron Racing. He's based out of Indiana, and he can transform a set of factory Honda 450R front shocks into the best shocks that you can get. You can set them up for any machine. He's chopped them down to put on mini quads. I mean, that's a really good shock. Anyway, the Honda, I love the seating. I love the ergos. I don't really like the way they look all that much. I love the power. I like the fact that I can wheelie the Honda so easily. I like that in stock configuration, compared to the other sport quads, it is the fastest out of the hole, in my opinion. Like, if we're doing whole shots, drag racing, you know, you put every sport quad brand new, line them all up, the Honda's going to be the first one of the turn, in my experience, every time, especially with me on the seat of that thing. The Yamaha is a great quad, but I feel like it is more of a motocross quad. Like, it is dedicated to motocross. Now, some will argue that the Suzuki LTR 450 is the best sport quad. You know, I've ridden those, but not very much, so I don't feel like there was anything that really stood out with the Suzuki. One thing that I did notice off the Suzuki, you know, it was wider, it was set up more for MX, but it did feel heavier, and it did feel like it was more, I don't know the exact way to describe it, but I would say it was more like a street bike motor. It sounded more like a street bike engine, whereas the Yamaha and the Honda, to me, sound more like 450 dirt bike racing engines. So the Yamaha is just amazing suspension for motocross. Right out of the box, I feel like the Yamaha does the best on the jumps. I mean, I have 5th gear pinned, humongous jumps on the Yamaha, and it just gives you a lot of confidence. The Honda feels like it's more set up for woods racing or flat track, and all the flat track guys run a Honda, and I think that's because of the great seating position. You have a real good control of the quad, and I feel like the Yamaha is more of a motocross quad. So if you're looking to have a motocross quad, I would go with the Yamaha. If you're looking for a trail racing machine or a flat track quad, go with the 450 Honda. And if you would like something that you can do both on, that's where the 250R comes into play, because you can tune it depending on what pipe and what cylinder you have on there, and you could race flat track one weekend and then go race motocross another. And you know, that's what makes that quad so great, is the ability to tune it. I just think that's awesome. Now, I guess some will argue that the 4-strokes are tunable, but I just don't feel like they can be tuned. I don't feel like you can tune a Yamaha for flat track. There isn't a whole lot of guys running Yamahas on flat track. Although, I feel like the Yamaha has the highest revving peak horsepower engine. Very comparable to the Suzuki. Whereas the Honda seems like it's got more of a mid-range hit, where that low end has a lot more low end power. One thing to know about all the 450 quads, if you're new to sport quads, is the 450s don't like to. Now, the fuel injected 450s are going to be a lot better for trail riding than the carbureted versions, but they're still going to have the ability to stall. And I've noticed that unless you are riding the 450s aggressively in the woods, they are much more easy to stall. And that's just the nature of those high-strung, small flywheel racing quads. Now, I believe that you could put a recluse clutch on that, and that totally solves that problem. Or you could also maybe try to put some flywheel weights on there. That'll also give it more of a chug factor. But they are no doubt extreme motocross machines, high performance racing quads, all three of the ones I just mentioned. But the 250R Honda, the 2-stroke version, it does not stall out in the woods like the more racing inspired 4-stroke quads do. I don't know why. I don't know if it's the high compression, the low flywheel weight. Maybe it's a combination of the cam. Maybe it's everything. But the Honda 250R 2-stroke doesn't do that. In my experience, it's a much more difficult to stall. I feel like it does better in the woods, in my opinion. And I feel like that if you know how to ride a 2-stroke, it's a funner to ride machine in the woods, and you just gotta love that sound. So things to look out for on the Honda. Basically, you're gonna want to look for. You're gonna want to check the compression. Those 4-stroke motors do require a lot of maintenance, and one thing that you're gonna find is a lot of these machines used are gonna be highly neglected. The best thing you can hope for is maybe find one that somebody got a flat tire on it, parked it, and it's been sitting for a couple years. That doesn't have much ride time on it. The racing quads, if you get one of those that's already has like a $5,000 racing machine that says it has a fresh rebuild and all that stuff, those are great quads for the money. I love buying used race quads. There's one disadvantage of buying a used race quad, and that's going to be it's going to feel ragged out even though it's got a fresh motor. The rest of the bike will be tight, but I feel like when you start souping up and putting a real big open exhaust and open the intake up on those quads, that they just feel like they're ragged out, like they're not near as smooth as a stock one would be. So if you're looking for some smoothness, I'd suggest looking at maybe a Z400 or a 400EX if you're looking for a trail machine. If you're going to be looking for a dedicated race machine, like I said, you're going to want to go with the Honda for woods and for flat track TT racing, and go with the Yamaha for motocross. Check out all the quads. You might like some of the other ones more than me. I am going to say something. If you are a bigger guy, around 250 pounds, these three quads are not going to be for you. You're going to have to look elsewhere for a sport quad. I would look at the Raptor 700, and I would also look at the, it goes under many names, but it's the Bombardier DS650. I believe Can-Am also bought rights to Bombardier, so they have I don't know what they call it now, but it's something probably DS650. The DS650 is much faster than the Raptor, and I don't know why. I'm sure that the Raptor could be modded to be faster, if not as fast as the DS, but that big motor, that Rotax motor, I believe that the DS has, it's fast. It's the only quad to ever beat my 250R quad, and it's pretty modified. And I've never been beat before by any race quad ever. And somebody pulled up on a stock that had a cam and a pipe on it or something, and it beat the 250R in a drag race. So quite surprised by that. But yeah, if you're 250 pounds, or let's say you're 200 pounds and you want to ride your girlfriend around on back, look elsewhere, guys. And another thing to know is these 450s need a lot of maintenance, and the 250R is pretty reliable, but you're still gonna have to change out the clutches and the oil and the piston every now and then. And the 4-strokes, they're gonna need valves adjusted, oils changed, clutches, whereas the Raptor and the Z400, the 400EX, and some of these other quads, you're going to get a lot more riding time out versus maintenance, and they're not going to put out the same kind of power, but they're going to last a lot longer. So I feel like I'm kind of diving into the sport quad shootout video, and I don't want it to go that way. I just want to tell you my favorite 3 and why, and that's basically the end of this video. And stay tuned. I'll do the sport quad shootout sometime today or in the next couple days, and I'll go over all the sport quads and talk about all the advantages and disadvantages to those machines. And I really appreciate it if you guys could give me a like or subscribe. I'm not currently trying to make money with this. I'm just trying to reach out. I'd like to ride with some new people. I'd like to get some new riding buddies. I'm located in Ohio. I have sport quads, dirt bikes, enduros. You know, if you'd like to set up a time to meet and go riding, I'd love to ride with you. I don't care how skilled you are. I don't care if you're just trying to learn to ride and you're looking for some tips, or if you want to race hard and go riding hard all day. I don't care, guys. Just like to ride, getting out of racing, and just looking to meet some new people. I want to get more people involved in the sport, and just try to share all this years of knowledge that I have, guys. I know everything about 4-wheelers and 3-wheelers and dirt bikes pretty much, and I'd like to share that knowledge with you guys. And no charge, obviously. Not out here to make money. I'm just here to make the sport more popular and get more people interested. And let's get some of these manufacturers to make us some more quads that we're all looking for. We all want a new quad. Honda, please give us a 6-speed 450 with an aluminum frame and electric start. We really want that, and we want the same. We want the very similar motor, and we want 6 gears, and we want the same seat and an aluminum frame to shed some weight off that thing. And let's maybe try to make it a little bit more reliable. Add fuel injection, you know, that's all we really want. We don't need, you know, we're not asking for a whole lot, guys. We're not asking for a 1,000,000-mile, 3,000-mile oil changes. We're just asking for what we need. So anyway, have a great day, guys. Let's hope this weather will change and we get some riding in. See ya.